You are welcome here, just the way you are. No more hiding tears, no more covering scars. You are welcome, holy welcome. You are welcome here, just the way you want to be. Bring your deepest hopes and all your wildest dreams. You are welcome, holy welcome, holy welcome. There's something in the air, the dream of life in love, with minds that rest in prayer, sparking joy we're in awe. No matter where your path has been or time has somehow flies, like souls will come home again, true friendship ever thrives. Is this where the magic happens? Can you feel the hearts revealed right now in you and me? The secret is wherever we are. There's something in a smile that can turn a day around. Moments so worthwhile when we find common ground. No matter what the day might bring, right here we can align, knowing that we will be seen as perfect, whole, divine. This is where the magic happens. Let's feel all the hearts, from close to me and me to you. The secret is wherever we are. So meet me where the magic happens, feeling all the hearts ignited now in you and me. The secret is wherever. The secret is whenever. The secret is together we are.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living St. George Sunday service via podcast. We've got a great service set up today. We are an open, loving, and inclusive community. Did I say community? And we support thinking creatively and living a deeply spiritual life. Our values are love, freedom, participation, enthusiasm, acceptance, contribution, cooperation, and humor. I usually provide some of that. My name is Alan Stanley. I'll be your host today. We got in the background producing this thing is Marina Anderson, and she'll be keeping us all pretty. And then our invocation will be offered by Bill Smith. Sue Fulmer will be doing our reading. And today is special. We have they like to call themselves the Fab Five practitioner team. We'll have some open discussions on today's subject. So this is really going to be cool. So sit back, enjoy. I'm going to sing a couple songs. We'll start singing this one, and then Bill will come in the middle and offer our invocation. And then as you see the lyrics, we'll come back and do it. This song is I Will Make a Quiet Place by Michael Gott. I will make a quiet place within my heart, and I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord. I will make a quiet place within my mind, and I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still and know. I will make a quiet place within my life, and I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord.
Good morning, CSL St. George. Please, I invite you to join me in prayer. As we open this service, we do so in the presence of the one that creates life, the one that sustains life, the one that is life. I know that this spirit is active in me. I know this spirit is me. And as we are all one, I know that this spirit is active and lively and moving through each and every one of us. I know that today's service is a blessing. I know that the music is uplifting. I know that the talks, as we have 5 mini talks today, are all clear and have a wonderful message. And I know that everyone in attendance today receives that message. I just let it be so. And so it is.
So it is. Thank you, Bill. I will make a quiet place within my heart, and I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord. I will make a quiet place within my mind, and I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still and know. I will make a quiet place within my life, and I will wait upon the Lord. Wait upon the Lord. I will make a quiet place. And I would like to invite Sue Fulmer to offer our reading for us this morning. Hello, Sue.
Hi, Alan. Thank you. Hey, I'm about done with winter. How about you?
Yeah, I'm about done too.
Yeah, it's just so cold in this sunny St. George. So I found a couple of jokes about winter. To shorten winter, borrow some money due in the spring. That makes sense. And someone using the tag flying llama fish said about Groundhog Day coming up on February 2nd. It's a freaking holiday entirely based on the power of a psychic rodent. If that isn't the epitome of awesome, I don't know what is. So that first joke was by W.J. Vogel. Have to give him credit. So we are finishing off this month. It's almost February. And our theme this month has been Root and Reboot. I'd like to quote from an article in the Science of Mind magazine this month by Carol Carnes. She said, Ernest Holmes said, we are open at the top, meaning our highest and best guesses about the universe and our place in it are likely to be the first rung of an infinite ladder. She goes on to list 6 quotes from that first rung of our philosophy ladder. First one is from Thomas Troward, a British judge at the time of Ernest Holmes. And he was instrumental in the founding thoughts that Ernest had in founding Science of Mind. He said, consciousness precedes form and experience. Ideas take flight into things from the nucleus of our conviction. The second quote is, mind is cause and mind is cure. From another of Ernest's associates, Dr. Phineas Quimby, who led hundreds of his patients to be healed through the power of thought in the mid-1800s. Ernest said, the universe and everything in it is the visible evidence of an incredible intelligence at work. That's really basic of our philosophy. And number 4, the one I am is being the I am that I am. This is in the Bible, and God is within, so said Jesus, referring to the Father. Number 5, again from Ernest Holmes, in a stunning reference to our true nature, God makes everything out of itself by becoming the thing it makes. And number 6, lastly, the divine is inherent in all life. Even the rocks and the trees hold the presence within. Ralph Waldo Emerson. I love the foundation of our philosophy and science of mind. I'm so grateful that our founder, Ernest Holmes, was so earnest, pun intended, in his studies and brought together so many truths from so many different places and so many brilliant minds. Now it's up to us to climb that ladder of wisdom and see what we can find up there that's open at the top. Thank you.
That's great, Sue. Thank you. It's open at the top. I've got a quote too. So this song is about heaven. And Ernest Holmes, one of his quotes is, heaven is within us, and we experience it to the degree that we become conscious of it. And in my experience, these little inklings of my consciousness of the heaven that I am is very joyful and causes me a lot of zeal. So this song was from that realizing that heaven isn't out there, heaven's in here, and it's a joyful recognition when we realize it. Can you hear it? Can you feel it? Can you see it? Here it comes. There's a knowing overflowing, and it touches all who come. It is shining bright, and it feels so right as it flows through everyone. There's a light inside that we just can't hide. The kingdom of heaven's come. We can hear it, we can see it, we can feel it as it grows. We are glowing, overflowing, filled with spirit, and it shows. We are shining bright, and it feels so right as it flows through everyone. There's a light inside that we just can't hide. The kingdom of heaven's come. They can hear it, they can see it, they can feel it. Here they come. All are singing, love is bringing peace and joy to everyone. All are shining bright, and it feels so right as it flows through everyone. There's a light inside that we just can't hide. The kingdom of heaven's come. The kingdom of heaven's come. We said the kingdom of heaven's come. Yep, and it's a joyful time. So today is different. We have our, as I mentioned earlier, our fabulous Fab guys. Anyway, we're going to have some discussion about the Living Out Loud, the January's Root and Reboot. And today's discussion will be about celebrating life as a source. So our first practitioners to share with us will be Anita Schuff. And we'd like to bring her up and get this ball rolling, Anita.
Hello, Alan, and good morning, everyone. Gosh, the 2023 global theme is Living Out Loud, and I'm going to propose that song that Alan just did be the global theme song. That was really bold and joyful. So I always enjoy the beginning of each year when we typically go back and review some of the basic principles in our Sunday talks. And these principles serve as the foundation for the science of mind and spirit. I spent this past week, reviewing notes and quotes and talking points from all 5 of the January lessons. And so that included today. And I felt like I was missing something. I was really having a hard time making a connection between the talk titles and the basic principles. And then yesterday morning, I woke up with this big duh. It was like a moment of clarity. And I realized that the 5 talk titles for this month correlate with the 5 steps that we use in teaching affirmative prayer. And that link really helped me to get to the meaning of the titles. So I'm going to share that with you this morning as I take a few minutes to review this month's topics because they are fundamental to our spiritual teachings. So in the first week of January, the title was God is a Concept. And that relates to the first step of affirmative prayer, recognition. We recognize God as a concept, so we often use conceptual names for God, such as universal presence, infinite intelligence, spirit, mind, source. And sometimes we just call God life. It's life with a capital L. Ernest Holmes, our founder, called God the thing itself. It's so simple, and I think that might be one of my favorite names. But whatever we choose to call it, this thing, God, we know that it's all that and more. It's infinite and it's indefinable. Then in week 2, the title was The Universal Voice. And this relates to the second step of prayer, which is unification. So if God or life is all there is, that means it has taken form as me and as you. And there's only one life. It's God's life. It's my life. It's your life. And we are inseparable from it. That is total unification. I think of the universal voice then as kind of a spiritual communication system of the one life. And its language is love. And when we are tapped into that voice, we recognize that all parts of creation are unified as one divine whole. And consequently, what affects one affects all. Week 3, the title was The Internal Song. And this relates to the third step of affirmative prayer, realization. We realize that our internal dialogue plays out in our external lives. Our thoughts and beliefs are kind of the raw materials from which our experiences are constructed. So in the spiritual practice of affirmative prayer, this is where we make our statements of faith and claim our good. And we don't just speak it. We persist until we feel it real. Realization is conviction. Week 4, the title was Singing with Gratitude. And you can see how that lines up with our fourth step of prayer, which is thanksgiving. And Reverend Patrick Harbula spoke about manifesting joy and peace in our lives. And in doing so, he emphasized the importance of spending the greater percentage of our day in the mindset of gratitude as opposed to dissatisfaction. So in the fourth step of prayer, we offer gratitude in advance for the good we are claiming. And then today is week 5, and the title is Celebrating Life as Source. And I'll tell you in a minute how that relates to the fifth step of prayer, which is release. But first, I'd like to look at a quote from Ernest Holmes that sheds a little light on this title. We are guided daily by divine intelligence into paths of peace, wherein the soul recognizes its source and meets it in joyful union, in complete at-one-ment. So you'll notice in this quote that Ernest Holmes has capitalized some of the names that we use for God: divine intelligence, source, even it, and even at-one-ment. That's God as one. So another way to say this title is Celebrating Life as God. And there is a subtitle to this talk that you haven't heard yet, and it is Surrendering to the Bigger Idea of Life. So this is where I make the connection to the fifth step of prayer, which is release, letting go, surrendering. So now you're going to hear from the other practitioners who will be sharing their insights on surrender and how it connects to celebration. So we're going to start with Bill Smith. Welcome, Bill.
Thank you, Anita. You know, when I first discovered that today's talk title was really about surrender, I knew that this is going to be a tricky topic for me. Surrender has not come easily to me. I believe a lot of the difficulty I've had accepting the concept of surrender had to do with my early life training and experiences. Growing up as a highly competitive athlete, surrender was a completely foreign concept to me. The key, I was repeatedly told, to being a successful, i.e. winning, athlete was to adopt the never say die, never give up attitude. I can still hear the old tapes playing in my head, created by any number of football coaches from the past, saying, "Don't give up, Smith. Keep fighting until the last second of the game." That relentlessness proved to be pretty successful for me in the past, and the concept of surrender meant giving up. Fast forward several years, and like many of us, I turned to the self-help section of the library to try to improve my lot in life, to become more successful in my business life or personal life. It seems like every self-help guru out there has some kind of formula for success. Follow these simple steps and you will lead a more fulfilled life. And inevitably, one of the last steps in their success strategies involve perseverance, having that never say die attitude and pushing through the discomfort or the pain. This was the sure path to success. The thought of surrendering to anything was the furthest from my mind. After all, I was a big, strong man who had achieved some level of success in athletics, I thought, in life. But as it turns out, all that was just my bloated ego trying to control life through external means, avoiding the true path to happiness, the internal path. As I became aware of the science of mind and began to create my own personal relationship with God, I began to become more acquainted with surrender. At an intellectual level, it became clear to me that in order to further my understanding of how spirit worked in my life, I would need to surrender my desires to spirit in order to manifest the changes that I wanted. That made sense to me and sounded good. I continued in this manner for several years, believing that this science of mind thing was really working for me. A positive attitude and an outlook on life felt really good. But as one of my teachers made clear to me, there's a big difference between knowing something and really knowing something. At some point in our development as metaphysicians, the book learning and study has to move from the head to the heart. And that's where the real knowing takes place. That is where surrender comes into play. Probably my first surrender that I can recall came in the form of service. As I became involved in my first Center for Spiritual Living, I was given opportunities to serve, to apply my talents where they were needed and appreciated. I began to serve, helping to set up for events and services and doing little things to help. And these efforts were appreciated, and I received praise from congregants and from the minister, and that felt good. But I found myself doing these things, being in service, because the praise felt good, and it was good to feel needed. But after a while, service kind of changed for me. I came to realize that I shouldn't be in service for the recognition. Service was more about doing the right things for the peace that service gave me. And that's where the surrender came into play. Giving my talents, not for the outward effects, but for the ability to become closer to spirit. Next came tithing. Tithing was an interesting concept to me. Giving my hard-earned money to the church did not seem so interesting to me. I heard the arguments for tithing, that the money would be appreciated and that it would help the center stay solvent and keep the lights on and the doors open and things like that. But then I learned that tithing is less about who you are giving the money to and more about the change that tithing creates in the giver. Again, an interesting intellectual concept that I began to know without really knowing in my heart. I had heard the adage that when you give to spirit, what you give comes back to you tenfold. But I didn't know how to really know this until I finally surrendered to faith. I began tithing regularly and almost immediately saw my relationship with spirit change. Yes, the tithing, the giving was important, but the surrendering was the key. As I began my practitioner studies, there was a lot of talk about prayer. I was taught the correct usage of our affirmative prayer, what we call spiritual mind treatment, that Anita just covered. Again, I approached it in a strictly cerebral capacity. I understood, or so I thought, the power of prayer, fully grasped the 5 steps and the purpose of each step in the process, but practicing and knowing in my heart was a completely different proposition. It wasn't until I surrendered to spirit and started using and feeling the power of prayer did I finally come to know it. All these steps in my path towards surrendering beg the question in my mind, what if we were to surrender to spirit itself entirely? My thought on this is, while surrendering completely is an admirable goal, what may be more realistic, at least to me, is to approach this total surrender in steps. We're given opportunities daily to practice the art of surrendering, And the more we practice it, the more natural and freeing it becomes. It is said that living life without resistance is an easier path than resisting. Surrender is a great way to remove the obstacles, the resistance that keeps us from celebrating life as source. I'd like to close my portion with an affirmation. I'll say it one time and then ask you or invite you to repeat it with me the second. As I surrender to spirit, I accept life. As I surrender to spirit, I accept life. Now I'll pass on to the next leg of our relay, Mary Klein.
Hi,
Mary.
Hi, Bill. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. One of the greatest obstacles in our lives is hate. We can't fully surrender as long as we express hate in our lives. Hate is a marker of separation. And as we know that all is God, that we are all expressions of God, the invitation is for us to expand our understanding so that we can see that the bigger idea and move away from hatred and into love. There's nothing wrong with wanting to see and experience a greater life for ourselves and for those in our family and around us. But when we do so at the expense of others, we're unable to express our divine freedom. We need to surrender these attachments and set ourselves free. From the book, The Great Surrender, Living the Science of Mind, it states that you have to lose your hate if you wish to find love. You have to let go of everything that is unkind if you wish to discover kindness. You even have to surrender fear if you wish to discover faith. Hatred shows itself in many ways, often based on a fear of those who belong to a different neighborhood, religion, culture, nation. Hatred is sometimes passed down from one generation to the next. Personal hatred comes from hurt and anger and resentment. Deep love that has resulted in hurt or heartbreak can turn into hatred when the people involved choose to reject the opportunity to communicate their mistakes and forgive what has happened in the past. Hatred is ugly and always causes pain and suffering. It makes people hard, disconnected, fearful, aggressive, hostile, and cruel. People sometimes hold on to hatred because it gives them a false sense of power and belonging, allowing them to feel self-righteous and superior. Hatred is disempowering, limiting, and creates stagnation. It closes people's hearts and blocks their souls from fully expressing and experiencing the power of love, forgiveness, intimacy, and kindness. On a physical level, hatred contributes to many health problems. Here are some things that you can do to soften your heart and ease the feeling of hatred. Bridge differences. Understand that differences don't necessarily need to divide people, but we do have a tendency, rooted in evolution, to want the world to be into us and them, to divide it that way. By understanding the social and psychological roots of polarization, we can promote solutions that help bring people together by what they share in common, not what sets them apart. We can practice altruism, which is when we act to promote someone else's welfare, even at a risk or cost to ourselves. Studies have found that people's first impulse is to cooperate rather than compete. Our challenge lies in finding ways to evoke the better part of our nature. We can display compassion. It's defined as the feeling that arises when you are confronted with another's suffering and feel motivated to relieve that suffering. Research there has shown that when we feel compassion, our heart rate slows down, we secrete the bonding hormone, oxytocin, and regions of the brain linked to empathy, caretaking, and feeling of pleasure lights up, which often results in our wanting to care for the other person. We can seek out social connection, referring to the feelings that we belong to a group and generally feel close to other people. Scientific evidence strongly suggests that this is a core psychological need essential to feeling satisfied with our life. And next would be gratitude. Robert Emmons, perhaps the world's leading scientific expert on gratitude, argues that gratitude has two components. First, it's an affirmation of goodness. We affirm that there are good things in the world, gifts and benefits we receive. And secondly, we recognize that sources of this goodness are outside of ourselves. We acknowledge that other people, and then internally our higher power, gave us many gifts to help us achieve the goodness in our life. Next, which I believe is the most important of all, is forgiveness. Forgiveness is defined as a conscious and deliberate decision to release feelings of resentment or vengeance towards a person or group who has harmed us, regardless of whether they actually deserve our forgiveness. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting, nor does it mean condoning or excusing offenses. It doesn't obligate us to reconcile with the person who harmed us. Instead, forgiveness brings the forgiver peace of mind and frees them from anger. In some ways, it empowers us to recognize the pain we suffered without letting that pain define us, enabling us to heal and move on with our life. I'd like to share and tell my story a little. I had the opportunity for a 2-day silent retreat many years ago. And I entered into silence. I had no idea what I was going to do for 2 days. And the thought came to me was forgiveness. So I went back in my history, my mind back to as young as I could remember, at having been angry, having to forgiving my mother was one of the first ones for some indiscretion when I was probably 3, and forgiving myself for having such a negative reaction to it. And so I spent 2 days analyzing my entire life, looking at where I needed to forgive and where I needed to forgive myself. It was a life-changing experience, and it was many years ago, but still at times I'll be driving along and something will pop up that I know and need that I need to still forgive, that had not been covered in the 2 days of my silent retreat. So I'd like to very shortly to end here a process to relieve hatred. So if you would just relax a second. Place your hands on the part of your body where you feel hate most intensively. For me, it's my heart. Breathe into the area for a few moments while allowing any emotion to rise to the surface with very little resistance. Relax your hands. Say, divine healing intelligence, using the divine flame of purification, please free me from the harmful grasp of hate I have carried. At this point, you can think of things or people that you might be carrying a hatred from. I ask that this divine flame burn away and dissolve all anger, fear, hurt, pain, and resentment that is making my body and my life heavy, making it limited and stagnant. Please allow me to see light and wisdom in the situation and help me transform hatred into compassion, fear into love, disconnect into care, and spitefulness into kindness. Give me new eyes, a new point of view, so that I can transform how I see the situation. And now go ahead and say the word clear several times until you feel lighter. Thank you, and so it is. So let me now pass it on to my colleague, Starrett.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Mary. Okay. For me, on the idea of surrender, the first quote at the top of this idea that we were discussing is, what if we were to surrender to Spirit Source itself entirely? This is what it takes to live and laugh out loud. What is your idea of surrender? Surrendering to me has become a pure offering. I lay these offerings on the altar of the Divine Heart Center inside myself. It is where my inner lover lies, stretched out in smiling repose, as Emerson states. Pure, sweet surrender. There is within everyone the divine masculine and the divine feminine. And you choose where you come from and to this internal lover. The pure recognition of there is only one mind. That mind is the infinite lover to me. That mind is here now, and my life is beautiful, no matter what circumstances seem to dictate. And it is where anyone can start their surrendering practice. It's an inside exercise with many, many results. To me, surrender feels like being lifted up, like ecstasy I and so many others crave. I choose to surrender all my limitations and arguments with Source, with this divine lover. And I gladly surrender all of these thoughts and the past conditionings I have that I harbor to this loving, smiling lover in repose that never judges anything. It reminds me how soft and gentle this fierce love really is. There is the divine lover within every being. Locate your own center of being. It's an individual process and preference. It's always available. For me, I call it the divine altar of my lover. And it's located in my upper gut, slightly under and in back of my heart center. It's as big as whatever I need to surrender. It never says, oh, that's too much, or that's not enough. That's not what Source does. That's not what my lover does. It just accepts everything. All my doubts, all warring fears and falsehoods, no matter where it came from. If I see them, they are for me to decide how to choose to deal with it. I choose to surrender all that feels less than this truth. I relax here as I have even laid down my entire physical body on this altar of my inner lover. In this sweet surrender, my lover has come. It's like a soft, gentle song I hear on the radio, or an episode in a movie that takes my breath away. It's constantly calling to me. It is bliss and ecstasy both. Because I surrender all of life, I now see with clarity the newness that life has to offer. I am consumed by it, and I choose only to give that ecstasy back to all I see. For all I see is part of me. Here's a description of an exercise I choose to use in surrendering. We don't have time to experience it, so I'm just going to read over it. And if anybody would like to discuss it on Zoom, please come and join us in a lively conversation, which I'm sure will happen. There are 7 energy centers in the body. Joe Dispenza talks a lot about them. The top one, the crown chakra, and the second one down, the third eye, are the only 2 that I use. What I do is I open up the crown chakra and I feel the swirling as I relax and breathe into it. And there is a kind of a settling, like my shoulders fall down and I am in the state of the beginning of surrendering. Then the second center is the third eye. Between these 2 centers, I kind of stick my foot in the door and kind of hold it open between the 2. The next center down is where I lay down my ideas, my thoughts, my feelings. And I usually ask the question like this: what must I believe to experience this? As I settle into that, I breathe and I get answers. And I lay these answers gently on the altar of my lover, the divine heart within me. I do so gracefully, like I'm giving something to my lover. And for me, this has proven to be a true giving to the Almighty for myself. I feel the surrender in my being, and I witness the Creator's acceptance. And how I know it's accepted is that it is indeed lifted. I become lighter, freer, and things seem to disappear of what those thoughts were, as life indeed does show up differently for me. The ecstasy and the wholeness that is left in its place is the true me that has always been with me, that is changeless. And as I identify more with that, it is easier and easier to let go and to surrender. And every day becomes a day to celebrate the simplicity and the beauty of life itself. And now I passed the baton on to Chris McCardle.
Thank you, Star. That was lovely.
Thank you.
Wow, I really am enjoying today. This is kind of my most favorite part of Science of Mind teaching, and this practice of surrender and release are the most powerful lessons of my practice. And it is something that I think is so important that we all just utilize it and listen to the words of the practitioners today and join us in the Zoom meeting, because this release and the surrender is just so absolutely beautiful. And with that, I'm going to read a poem by Reverend Sapphire Rose. It's called She Let Go. And it completely summarizes all of our talk today. And it just settles it very well. So she let go. Without a thought or a word, she let go. She let go of all the fear. She let go of the judgments. She let go of the confluence of opinions swarming around in her head. She let go of the committee of indecision within her. She let go of all the right reasons, wholly and completely. Without hesitation or worry, she just let go. She didn't ask anyone for advice. She didn't read a book on how to let go. She didn't search the scriptures. She just let go. She let go of all the memories that held her back. She let go of all the anxiety that kept her from moving forward. She let go of the planning and all of the calculations about how to do it just right. She didn't promise to let go. She didn't journal about it. She didn't write the projected date in her day timer. She made no public announcements and put no ad in the paper. She didn't check the weather report or read her daily horoscope. She just let go. She didn't analyze whether she should let go. She didn't call her friends to discuss the matter. She didn't do it in a five-step spiritual mind treatment. She didn't call the prayer line. She didn't utter one word. She just let go. No one was around when it happened. There was no applause or no congratulations. No one thanked her or praised her. No one noticed a thing. Like a leaf falling from the tree, she just let go. There was no effort. There was no struggle. It wasn't good and it wasn't bad. It was what it was, and it is just that. In the space of letting go, she let it all be. The small smile came over her face. A light breeze blew through her, and the sun and the moon shone forevermore. That is a practice that each of us, once we endure it and once we utilize it, is kind of the answer to most of the things that we experience in life, no matter what they are. So with that, I conclude. I thank everyone for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed it. And again, please join us in the Zoom meeting. So I believe I will bring it back to Alan.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris. You guys did it. I surrender. That was great. I love it when we do these practitioner days. So I hope you enjoyed it too, and we can talk a little bit more on the Zoom meeting at noon, at the hour coming up here. So please join us. You can get on at the website or on our newsletter. Our community care circle is still active. You can give them a call if you just want somebody to talk to, or you know somebody that may like to hook up. Our practitioners, as you met today, are available and willing, ready to pray. So if you'd like somebody to pray with or pray for, contact them there on the website, CSLSGeorge.org prayer, and somebody will get back a hold of you. Like I just said, the Zoom meeting is coming up at the top of the hour. Come join anybody, please. No matter if you're in North Carolina, I know you're there. I saw your post. And come and talk with us. The book club is going to be starting up on February 2nd. You can get more information about that on the website and in the newsletter. And our next in-person meeting will be coming up on February 11th. I think it's not sure where it's at myself, but it is posted. I remember seeing it in the newsletter and on the website. So come on out and join us. We always have a good time out there. And sign up for Marina and Bill's next chapter of inclusion conversations. Those are, I'm getting some really good feedback on those conversations. Now you need to get on there. I think it's February 28th. You got to be at the first one. You don't have to be at every one, but the first one you need to get in there and sign up. So all of this information is on our website and in our newsletter. So Bill was really touched me when he was talking about tithing there for a minute. I have experiences. It's just part of the flow. It's not because keep the lights on and this and that, or I have to, somebody's going to find out. There's an action, a universal action when we keep this stuff flowing, and money is part of it. And we really appreciate your participating in the prosperity of Center for Spiritual Living in St. George. So if you'd like to do that, you can do it several ways. You can see it up here. PayPal, you can go to our website to the donation page. It gives you all the details. You can use it by mail. You can give on Zelle, which is a new activity that the banks are offering. And all this information is on our website. So we thank you in advance for your sharing in our prosperity at the Center for Spiritual Living in St. George. So coming up on our Sundays, Reverend Joe Kovach will be back with a curiosity as a superpower. That's going to be interesting. What lies beneath the surface? So that will be on February 5th. And he will be returning again on February 12th. And the discussion will be about inquiring minds want to flow. So that's got a little hook to it. So please come back and join us. You're welcome anytime. These are great services, and I'm really honored to be able to participate in them. So we look forward to seeing you soon. So now we're going to come back together here and do our closing affirmation. And we really wish you would join in with us. We read this and, affirmations, we're putting it out there. It's going to happen. So you can be part of that and just read along. Looks like we're all here. So I'll get this thing started. Something wonderful is happening through me right now.
It is this thing called life.
Life is in my mind. Life is in my body. Life is in all that I do.
I am it. I embrace it. And I share it.
Just the way that it is.
And just the way that it is becoming.
Thank you, life.
Woohoo!
Yay!
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Come back to see us. We love you.
Bye.
Bye.